So, Bards, welcome to the Bardslow, the night of nights. It's your night, the middle night.
I'm very honoured to be here, Graham, and to present this prestigious award. We know someone from Hawthorn's going to win it, so hopefully it's one of our favourites.
It's going to be a great night because Hawthorn can't lose.
That's exactly right. It's like the Peter Crimmins medal all over again.
Right, well, here we go. Off to the voting. Round 1, Hawthorn versus Collingwood.
Well, 5 votes Lance Franklin for his game against Collingwood. I couldn't go past it. Raw numbers. He had 21 disposals at 76% last week, 10 of which are contested. 6 marks and 6 inside 50s. That's a pretty good game. He had 5 goals to it. A couple of assists. That's a huge game. Played better than what he did, but I reckon he was our best. Gave 4 votes to Sam Mitchell. Another big game from him last week. 32 possessions I think he had. Rioli, well, he especially for his first half, and that second quarter was pretty special. And then Grant Birchall, I'll give 2 votes to, and 1 to Isaac Smith for his second half. You can learn to do that for a whole game. He's going to be something very special.
Round 2, Geelong versus Hawthorn.
Your best, your 5-4-3-2-1.
5 votes Brendan Whitecross, clearly our best player on the day, I thought. Amazing. I think if you had asked people 2 weeks ago if we'd be worried about Whitecross missing the game, most people would say, well, we can cover that. 2 games at the start of the season has been great. So 4 to Burgoyne, thought he played one of his better games for us. 3 to Rioli, 2 to Mitchell, lying at half time, but did go out of the game. And I'll give 1 vote to Brock McCauley. I reckon the kid's a trier, and I reckon he can hold his head away pretty well.
I think that is a good 5-4-3-2-1 Bards.
Round 3, Hawthorn versus Adelaide.
All right, mate, I've got 5 votes first of all to Josh Gibson. Brilliant game down back. Rock solid, outmarked everyone, punched the ball clear when you had to, use the club like foot. One of his better games for the club, I thought. 4 votes to Brendan Whitecross. He's going from strength to strength. Every week he looks better. Knows how to find the goal, gets on the end of the ball through the middle, having a ripper season. 3 to Jared Ruffhead through his running the ruck. Real mobile. I've got a mate who hasn't been in the footy in about 10 years and he couldn't get over how good Ruffhead was. I thought his game was excellent. 2 to Ben Stratton. He's got confidence to turn into space now. His marking was excellent again. Getting in the right spots, filling the holes. And again, used the ball well. 1 vote to Bunny Franklin. Another great game.
Round 4, West Coast versus Hawthorn.
All right, Bards, your votes.
Well, mate, as we know, not a great game, but there's a few players I thought stood out for us. First of all, that number 5, as you said, mate, Sam Mitchell had a great night. Went hard all night, was all over the ball. Captain on the night again, Jordan Lewis, continues leading from the front. Kicked a very nice goal. Pretty good when we had 4 goal kickers. And played a good game. We had 3 votes to Matt Suckling. It was one of his better games for the year. Been pretty good this year, and he stepped up again. 2 to Guerra, I thought his defensive job was really solid. Probably our best pure defender. Started again and does use the ball well. And I'll give him 1 vote by the name of Cameron Bruce.
Round 5, Hawthorn versus Sydney.
Bards, you got 5 votes for us?
Mate, I've got votes here. I'm going to start at the bottom. 1 vote I've given to Jordan Lewis. A couple of goals again and tried pretty hard all day. 2 votes to Ryan Schoenmakers. I thought he played his best game for the year. Everyone got on top of us at the end of the game, but he was very good, especially in that first half. And 3 votes to Jared Ruffhead. Pretty much a half of footy. Second half in the ruck was all right as well. And 5 goals. 4 or 5, no. No one played well enough to get 4 or 5 votes in this game.
Round 6, St Kilda versus Hawthorn.
5 votes for Cyril Rioli this week. Really hit out the critics, I thought, with a good 4-quarter effort. I've got 4 votes to Jordan Lewis, bit of unsung hero for the job he did on Nick Del Santo. And to give you an idea, Supercoach-wise, Del Santo averages 106 points a game, and Lewis kept him to 46, which is a fair effort. 3 to Franklin, just too good. 11 shots at goal, heaps of the ball. 2 to Guerra, who had a great game down back, and 1 to Liam Shields.
Round 7, Melbourne versus Hawthorn.
I got 5 votes for a man I think you may have been watching, Brad Sewell. Thought he had his best game for the year by a mile. Lots of clearances, used the ball well. So 5 for Sewell. 4 for Burchell, running off the back line. He had 29 at 93%. Lots of rebounds out of 50 and kicks into 50, so a good game for him. 3 to the big fella, David Hale. Thought probably his best game for the year as well. 23 odd possessions, 5 inside 50s, contested marks. Had a good night. Missed an easy goal. That was terrible, but they all did that. 2 to Franklin. Okay, he didn't kick straight, but another great game overall. If he kicked 7-3 instead of 3-7, we're raving about how good his game was, trying to get the balance right. And mate, I've got 1 vote for the whipping boy Ryan Shoemaker. Round 8, Hawthorn versus Fremantle.
Mate, votes this week. If you remember last week, made my man to watch one Luke Bruce, and I said he was in for a big game. Well, we were right, mate. He had an absolute ripper. Didn't get a big bag of goals, but was everywhere in everything else. So I gave him 5 votes. I got 4 votes to Clinton Young in easily his best game probably since the 2008 Grand Final, which he only played a half. 3 to Rioli. His forward pressure was sensational. Finished up with a couple of goals, but his tackling must have had a hand in another 2 or 3. 2 to Roughhead. Good game. 4 goals. Probably deserved 6. And 1 to Mitchell for weighted numbers and getting forward and kicking a goal.
Round 9, Richmond versus Hawthorn.
Have you got any votes?
There's no 5 and no 4.
They're protest votes.
I've got 3 to Roughhead. I thought he tried hard all day, to be honest. Still like to see him forward more, be more of a threat. 2 to Burgoyne. I think after me putting him under the pump a bit last week, he did have a better game. Probably our best midfielder, or he played back a lot. 1 to Bruce, 3 goals, and he's sort of getting in the right place at the right time. It's just balls in there enough. Round 10, Hawthorn versus North Melbourne. Pretty straightforward this week, mate. 5 votes to 1 Lance Franklin for a superb effort in front of the sticks. 4 to Sam Mitchell, mopping up everything across half-back, which our half-back line was about centre-half forward most of the game. 3 to David Hull, a very good game in the ruck from him. Took young Goldstein to the cleaners, I thought. 2 votes to my young man, Ryan Schoenmakers. Thought that's probably one of the better games he's played as well, albeit against not much. And 1 to Birchall for his rebound out of the defence.
Round 11, Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. Anyway, Bardslow.
Bardslow, 5 to the boy back in form, Bradley Sewell, ripper game in the middle. 4 to Bruce, his work rate is amazing at the moment, and he's getting on the end of a few and kicking goals as well. 3 to Gibson, did a great job down back while he's on Schultz and whoever else he picked up, plenty of the ball coming out. 2 to Rioli, 14 possessions he had, but he had 14 tackles. That sort of pressure just gets your goals in the forward line, and I snuck Franklin in for 1 for 4 goals and 4 behinds. Round 12, Hawthorn versus Brisbane Lions.
So, votes in the Bardslow.
In the Bardslow, I've got 5 votes for Sean Burgoyne. Probably his best game for the club. Finished off well when other blokes weren't early on, and just clearances, he was everywhere. 4 to Savage, put him under the pump a bit last week, and he came out and played his best game for the season. 3 to Mitchell, just accumulated and used the ball well. 2 to Roughhead, another great effort moving around the ground, and 1 to Piopolo for his ferocious tackling and goals as well.
Round 14, Carlton versus Hawthorn.
Votes, I've got Sam Mitchell with 5 votes for a complete game. Franklin with 4 for his 3-quarter effort. 3 to Birchall, 2 to Roughhead, and I've given 1 vote to Liam Shields for a tagging job he did on Cade Simpson.
It's quite surprising, but then again, we didn't notice him, so he must have been doing something.
He's down to about 15 possessions, Simpson, and he sets up a lot for them, so I think he did a really good job on him. Round 15, Hawthorn versus the GWS.
All right, Bardslow.
Probably one of the harder week to do votes because it's a bit hard to judge who's doing what and what effect they've had in the game. But I've used a few Supercoach points as a bit of a guide to help me out. But I've gone Rioli with 5 votes. One of his better games for the year. He's everywhere. It looks good coming out of that square, which I reckon we might see in the next week or so. 4 to Roughhead for 6 goals and another good game around the ground. 3 to Lewis. 2 to Clinton Young, who was very good on the wing that third quarter. We just seen him tap it down, handball out to him on the wing and a big long kick. And 1 to Luke Bruce, who got on the score sheet yet again.
Round 16, Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn.
Votes, mate. That man again who's quickly coming into Brownlow betting, Sam Mitchell with 5. Got Ben Stratton played his best game for the year. Lots of rebound off half back. 4 votes for him. 3 to Rioli, even though he was scalped by Liam Picken, according to one of the Herald Sun writers. 2 to Gunston for 4 goals. And 1 to Birchall for dash out of the back line and rebound. Round 17, Collingwood versus Hawthorn. With 5 for Lewis, he's good effect on keeping Shaw out of it and then just rolled around kicking 5 himself as well. Rioli 4, beautiful game from Sewell in the middle. 100% disposal efficiency, I think I read. Probably one of his best games as an on-baller. 3 to Mitchell, 2 to Luke Bruce, and 1 to my man Ryan Shoemakers for a beautiful shutdown job on the $1 Million Boy at the other end.
Round 18, Essendon versus Hawthorn. Votes.
I've awarded the 5 votes to the big man Hodgie. Just to be able to just walk into a side, kick 5 goals and say I'm done at 3/4 time, that's good enough for me. He won the game. 4 to Whitecross, back to his form that he had early in the year, sensational game. 3 to Rioli, backing up yet again, stringing some good games together, which I like. 2 to Suckling for his lazy 4 goals, and I've given 1 to my man Gunstall for another good performance out in front of the sticks. Round 19, Hawthorn versus Geelong for the game. So 5 votes go to the great man David Hale. I thought that was probably his best game in the ruck for the club. 13 disposals, 32 hitouts. He was instrumental in that last quarter when we were coming, mate. He was getting very good hitouts to advantage. Kicked a goal and laid a few tackles as well. So good game by Hale. The old man Sully back to his best in the middle, giving him 4 votes. I've given 3 to Rioli. Probably would have got 5 if he had kept playing on instead of pulling up that one run down the ground. 2 to Gunstall for his 4 goals and 1 to Roughhead for another all-round performance.
Round 20, Hawthorn versus Port Adelaide.
Oh, mate, I've got 5 votes here for just an amazing game. Mr. Grant Birchall, he had 31 possessions, something like that, at 100% efficiency. I don't think anyone's pulled that one out before. 4 to Piopolo, great game from a small forward. Kicked 5, I think 4 of them were in the goal square, to be honest. But he gets over the back, he reads it well, and he knows where the sticks are. 3 to Lewis, one of his, a good game from him, 26, 7 inside 50s and 5 clearances, which is a pretty good game for a bloke playing off the half forward line, pumping it in. I'll give 2 to Dasher Young. I thought he had another good game. He's using the ball much better than this incarnation of him. He's not just bombing it, he does hit up targets when he has to. 1 to David Hale. Round 21, Hawthorn versus Gold Coast. Back in form, I've given Hodge 35 possessions and seemed to do what he wanted as well. 4 to David Hale, another big game from the big fella. 3 to Roughhead, 2 to Sewell and 1 to Gunstall for another 4 goals.
So, what do you think of the concept of the Bardslow?
What do I think of the concept of what?
The Bardslow.
The Bardslow.
Round 22, Sydney versus Hawthorn.
5 to a bloke who, when we were 38 points down, I reckon this guy said, nah, we're not standing for this, boys. This is how we win a game. Mr. Sean Burgoyne just grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and just brought us back into it, and it was fitting that he was the man to put us in front at the end. So 5 to Sean Burgoyne. 4 to the young man down back. Bit of a shaky start, mate, but he played his best game for the club by a mile. That's Ryan Schoenmakers. 3 to Franklin. Just a nice little game coming back. A lazy 4 goals. Probably could have had a couple more. 2 to Sewell. 1 extra vote there for the monster goal at the end. And 1 to the skipper, who, as I suggested, went back, played that role, and got us over the line. So 1 to Hodge. Round 23, Hawthorn versus the West Coast Eagles. 5, mate, I've got 5 votes for Grant Birchall. I thought he was back in top form again. 4 to Mitchell, another good game. I like seeing Mitch have good games against good sides. There's always been a little bit of a knock on him that he doesn't handle the tag well, but he played very well. 3 to Franklin, even though he pretty much played a quarter. He set the game up and won it for us in the first quarter, and then he was good after that. He just didn't seem to get opportunities to score, but his work rate was great. 2 to Sewell, another good game from him in the middle, and 1 to Rufford. I thought he did a real good job having an influence himself and curbing the influence of Cox and Natanui.
First week of the finals, Hawthorn versus Collingwood.
This year, and that's one Luke Bruce I've given 5 to this week. I thought this game was beautiful all round. Not just about kicking goals for this fella anymore. He goes into the middle and has an effect. Genuine burst speed. He doesn't mind the fend off. He gets down back and helps out when he's on the ball as well. And I thought as an all-round game from a half-forward flanker, for a bloke who last year in the corresponding final had a shocker and got dropped, I thought he stepped up to the plate and had a ripper. So 5 votes to Luke Bruce. 4 to Sam Mitchell. Just way the numbers again, mate. He was great. 3 to Brad Sewell, who I'll talk about shortly. 2 to Franklin for getting the job done at the other end, and 1 to Gibson for spoils, and more spoils. Preliminary final, Hawthorn versus Adelaide. Mate, there was one little man that I thought won us the game, especially in the last quarter, and that was Rioli, and I've given him 5 votes for his display. Really stood up, took contested marks when he's a little fella. Probably should have kicked the goal for us to seal it up, but that's alright. He got us over the line. 4 to Mitchell for a big all-round game. Great game from him. 3 to Sewell for a third quarter effort. That was special. Clearances leading to goals. Great stuff. 2 to Franklin, even though his kicking wasn't on fire, mate, he got us over the line. Presented as a target time, and again in the last quarter, even when most of us had stopped. I thought he was good all day. And 1 to Luke Bruce for a great game off a half-forward flanking in the middle.
Grand final, Hawthorn versus Sydney. I think we're struggling with that too, aren't we?
It's a bit of a struggle, but there was a couple of blokes I thought did put their hand up. Number 1 on that list, and the man I actually picked for the Norm Smith medal, so I was feeling we didn't get across the line, was Brad Sewell. 33 possessions, 19 of them contested, 11 clearances, 6 inside 50s, a pretty all-round game from Sewell. For a man of his older age compared to some of the young ones, he showed him how it should be done in final, so I'll give him 5. Franklin had a great game, apart from his little bit of kicking for goal woes. 24 possessions for him, and he gets the 4 votes. I'll give 3 to Mitchell. Tried hard, probably down a little bit on what he's capable of. Wasn't too bad overall. And then after that, mate, it's a bit of a lottery. I'm just going to go with a goal kicker and give 2 to David Hale. I thought he gave us an option at times. 2 goals, 2. That'd have been 4 goals. We might have been laughing. And the single vote, mate, I'm going to give it a bloke who's been much maligned through the finals, and that's Shuey.
And our winner is Bards, Sam Mitchell.
And he had a super year, didn't he, mate? And obviously with the Brownlow, we saw that he got plenty of votes there too. And personal favourite of mine, Mitch, he knows how to get the ball and knows how to use it. So I've obviously looked after him with a few votes there. Good to see him come out on top, the boy.
So Bards, the Bardslow, the inaugural Bardslow. What a great night. And we look forward to another one in 2013.
Yeah, we'll get down to the after party at Crown now, mate, see what we can get up to.
Woohoo! Off we go.